Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I want to talk to you about my favorite siblings in books. So sometimes siblings in books can be a rarity. For some reason, a lot of authors make their protagonists only children, which is interesting and can be really fun too. I mean, obviously, there are only children in the world, but sometimes I wish that there were more books with just really great sibling relationships because I have a sister, and I want to be able to see sibling relationships reflected in books just as much as I want to see all the other kinds of relationships reflected in books. I'm also doing this video right now at this time in my life because I am currently quite missing my sibling. I haven't seen my little sister in a few months now. I think she was here near the beginning of September to visit me, but I have not seen her since. Zoe, I miss you. I know you don't watch my videos, but if you ever do sometime in the future, look, I shouted you out a little bit. So yeah, I just want to be able to talk about some of my favorite siblings in books, whether it be brother-sister, brother-brother, sister-sister, or whole groups of siblings. I want to be able to talk about my favorites. So first, and I think this is a pretty big one, I want to mention the Pevensies from the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. Yes, this is Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, and I absolutely love them. It was one of the first great books that I read about a group of siblings, and while they can sometimes be a bit harsh on one another, for examples, see Edmund selling his family for Turkish delight, they learn and they grow and they're really wonderful siblings and they support one another and they get each other through so many things, and even as they grow up and as they go on adventures together, they really support one another, and I just absolutely love them. Next up, I want to talk about Meg and Charles Wallace from the Wrinkle in Time Quintet, or the Time Quintet by Madeline L'Engle. Of course, Meg and Charles Wallace aren't the only siblings in the Murray family. There is also the twins, Sandy and Dennis, and I like them too, but I love the relationship between Meg and Charles Wallace. I think they understand each other so well and they support one another, and I love that whenever something's wrong with one of them, they just instinctively know. They have this way of communicating with one another, and it's such a close, strong relationship, and it's how they really get through things because they're both incredibly smart, but they have a lot of issues relating to other people their own age sometimes, I think, and I love how they support one another through all of that, and I just absolutely love Meg and Charles Wallace. I just reread A Wrinkle in Time earlier this year and was reminded how much I love the relationship, so cutest siblings. Next up, I want to mention some adoptive brothers, and that is Eragon and Roaring from The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. So of course, Eragon and Roaring aren't technically brothers, they are actually cousins, but they were raised as brothers, and I think that throughout the series they see each other as brothers, so they're getting counted. I think that this is a great relationship to cite because it is not all good times between Eragon and Roaring. I think that they go through some serious rough patches and they have to deal with some really serious stuff together, and yet their relationship is really strong. I really love some of the stuff in later books. It's not a total spoiler that they're still like brothers in later books. That's all I will specify, but I mean, you don't get to see a ton of their relationship in the first book, so if I'm talking about them, I think that that's enough of a spoiler already. I just think that they're really great and supportive, and I love the way they talk to one another, and I love that they don't let each other off when one of them does something really wrong. I think that's the best way to put it. I think when one of them makes a really stupid decision, the other one lets them know, and I really enjoy that aspect of their relationship. I really love that despite the fact that Eragon and Roaring are really cousins, they aren't. They're brothers, they were raised that way, and they will always be brothers. Next, I want to mention one of the best sister-sister relationships, and that is Katniss and Prim, of course from The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This book was a book that started based off of two sisters and one sister's love for the other, and I think that that is super, super important. As I recently mentioned in another video, my top 5 Hunger Games moments, my sister and I are the same age difference apart as Katniss and Prim, and so their relationship always just especially spoke to me as a big sister myself. Katniss's protective spirit for Prim I've always identified with it. I mean, of course, me and my sister have never been thrown into a Hunger Games dystopian future type situation, but just that protective spirit that Katniss has over her is something that I very much identify with, and I just love that this was a series that started based on sisters, and that was a theme that continued throughout. I really love their relationship in Catching Fire. Also, I think that they get to be a little bit more fun and sarcastic at some points, even though it's like a really sad instance. I think that there are these moments when they really get to be themselves, and I absolutely love it. So next up, I want to talk about two brothers again, and those brothers are Prosper and Beau from The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk. Yes, I actually have a physical book to hold up. It's been a while. I really love Prosper and Beau. It's been a really long time since I've read this book, but I still remember their relationship really fondly, and they go on a lot of fun adventures, but I think that they're always there for one another, and this is just a really great book for brothers. Next, I want to talk about some classic sisters, and those sisters are Lizzie and Jane from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Again, of course, there are more than just those two Bennet sisters. You've also got Mary, Lydia, and Kitty? Yeah, that's right, isn't it? Yeah. But I think that Lizzie and Jane are clearly the closest of the five that you really like, because of course Kitty and Lydia are close, but I have some issues with that relationship. But I think Lizzie and Jane are just really sweet together, and they listen to one another, and I appreciate that Lizzie and Jane are for one another just the people that they can tell the truth to. I love that. I love that they write their letters to one another, and this is the person who will understand you, and I think that's especially true of Lizzie when she's starting to describe how her feelings are changing towards a certain person. The person that she knows she can tell and will not laugh at her and will not misunderstand her is Jane. So I love their relationship. Next up, I have another physical copy. It's amazing! I want to talk about the Baudelaire Orphans from A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. So, Klaus, Violet, and Sunny are the three Baudelaire children in this series, and they are fantastic. I love them so much, because even though their lives are terrible, and I'm not saying that it's good to want to experience their lives, I will say that they are super, super smart, and that they always listen to what the other has to say. Even if that person is Sunny and can't actually speak words, they still understand her, and they still get what she's saying, and I love that they're so in tune with one another that they don't even need Sunny to be able to talk, to be able to know what's going on with Sunny. Because she's just a baby. She can't talk. It's not her fault. I think it's great that Klaus supports Violet so much in her adventurous endeavors, and that Violet understands Klaus so much in his love of reading. I love all of them so much and their relationships to one another, and it's fantastic. And the last siblings I want to talk about are a fairly important sibling bunch, and they are the Weasleys from Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Of course, I had to mention the Weasleys, because the Weasleys are amazing, and not just... There's just so much to talk about with all of their relationships to one another. I think one of my personal favorites is Fred and George's relationship with Ginny, because they tease her a lot when she's a kid and she is sort of pushed around by them, but I love the influence they have on her and how impressed they are with her as she gets older and as she changes and becomes more sure of herself. I love that they see that influence that they have on her, and that she constantly has them taken aback by the kind of person she's become. I also think that Charlie and Bill are really fun older brothers. I think Ron, despite the fact that he's kind of bitter about being the sixth son, does tend to be a good brother, and he is a really excellent brother to Harry, which I think is an important relationship to recognize, that I would say Ron and Harry are like brothers, but I think that that's really important. And even Percy. I know, but Percy becomes such an interesting thing to talk about with siblings, because of course they don't always get along. There's this tension with them, and he is so completely different from all the rest of the Weasleys, and I love how that progresses and how that changes, and just how they all feel about him in Deathly Hallows, especially near the end, is just, I mean, heartbreaking obviously, but it's just fantastic. And I love their sibling relationship, and I love how realistically it's all written. I love the Weasleys. There we go, those are all of my favorite sibling relationships. I think siblings in books are great. I There were a few when I was making my list that I left off because I think that there's some other really great sibling relationships in books. In the comments below, let me know if you have a favorite sibling relationship in a book and tell me why you think that's an interesting relationship, or if you prefer your protagonist to be only children, you can let me know that too. I would understand. That's fair too. So thank you for watching, thank you for indulging me in the fact that I am quite missing my sister, and I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye!